As you are all aware, learners will reopen for term 2 of the academic calendar. The Ministry of Education has released health and safety protocols for the implementation by all learning institutions in readiness for the resumption of face-to-face learning. I'm happy that schools have worked very hard to comply, and the schools I've been to this morning have made me very happy indeed. I have also repeatedly said that although physical distancing shall be and shall remain a challenge to us, it should not, and I've been reassured by the teachers, that it is not going to be a bottleneck to our resolve to open our schools for our beloved children. I encourage schools to engage with students to build confidence about COVID-19 preventive measures, and I'm glad to say that I've seen multiple water points in this school, but I've still demanded for additional more especially when we shall reopen now for the other over 3,000 students who are still at home. And I want to say that this morning at the Nairobi Primary School, I found a phenomenon which was very strange. The grade 3 children, some of them had come to school, which means the other children are itching to come to school. And as we ask ourselves, we have opened now for just about 3 classes. I think we should be bold enough to continue to observe them for about 1 or 2 weeks before we decide as to whether we can risk having larger numbers. So for those parents who are unable to convince their children, I would like their children to listen very carefully, that actually it is because of our great love for them that we want them to remain home for a shorter while we see what happens when just a smaller number is back at school. And by the grace of God, we shall recall them when the time is right. I also urge principals and teachers to compile a list of learners with pre-existing conditions. For example, asthmatics, if there are children who have asthmatic problems, and any other pre-existing conditions, so that the necessary attention can be given to them in line with the health institutions that you have aligned yourself with. Schools must ensure mandatory use of face masks, monitoring of body temperature, and I have seen that for this school, which is perhaps the largest primary school in the country, all those issues have been adhered to. I want to thank the Kenya Commercial Bank, which is our own bank, and to state that I think Mr. Wegara has some features which look like me, because I did not believe that he would have made the masks, because I only went to his office to thank him for some benevolent act that he had done early in the year. He had sponsored 50 students, and in that meeting he says he's ready to sponsor another 100. But then I said in passing, because I didn't want to look I didn't want to look like Oliver Twist. I said that, but we are also looking for masks. And he said, oh, I will give you 1 million masks. I said, how I wish I had come earlier. I said, just give us the specifications. And since we had developed a mask with Dr. Ombajo from the Ministry of Health, the infectious diseases expert who had developed the mask, and since I, as Magoha, don't trust anybody, we went with Dr. Kipsang after several meetings, and we went proudly to 3 government outlets. One of them is Kikotek in Kitui, the other one is the National Youth Service, and the third one is Rivertex. And we intervened and talked to them at length and negotiated the price. And the price at Rivertex turned out to be the lowest at 35 shillings, Kikotek 39 shillings, and I think the National Youth Service at 59 shillings. Those are government institutions. So what Oigara has done is he has moved faster than me, and I think they have made masks, because I can see these children wearing the masks, which means they were made and brought. So can we give a very hearty clap for KCB to act as an example, even to my own ministry, where officers in the field sometimes are not as swift. If it can be done, I believe we gave you the letter not up to a week ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not up to a week ago. Rivertex has the capacity, because I have been there, I can say it, and if you don't like it, go to that other place I always say. It has the capacity. Do you get the point? It is a government agency, and therefore there is no fear of you going there. There are others who offered earlier to give us some masks. But up to now, even the procurement processes have not been complete. So for this purpose of reopening, they may not help. They perhaps may help when we reopen the other one. I want to plead and challenge other corporates that in Kenya, the standard, the gold standard is these two children here. We are opening schools for them. If you can't open schools for them, the government will not open schools for any other person. So they are the gold standard. May I ask the other corporates to move with us in tandem? Since I have said that social distancing is going to be a challenge, every child must be safely masked. And so, Mr. Wegara, I hope you have given an example to your other colleagues, and that it is also better this way, rather than giving us money, because once you give us the money, then we are tied by procurement processes which don't make sense, and which some people will always utilize for other things. But if anybody wants to help us with these masks as quickly as possible, you have Rivertex, you have Kikotex, and you have the National Youth Service. If you want a point of contact, I am your servant, contact me. Or my person who is in charge of the media, Dr. Siringi there, or Dr. Belio Kipsang. Because as we prepare to open all schools, we are going to need more masks for the less fortunate children. Schools shall maintain updated biodata for all learners and staff and contacts of their parents and guardians in terms of, so that we should be able to relate to emergencies. But I would want to say this as a practicing physician who is on leave. Should there be an emergency, every parent and every teacher shall be a guardian for that time. We cannot wait until you finger the parent. This is our own African culture that unfortunately is dying. So I'm not worried if a child requires help, one of the teachers will automatically become the guardian and the parent, and the others will follow. Because even when my own son had an accident, somebody represented me and secured him and took him to hospital, and he's now paying back. So I'm not quite worried about this. I know for sure that people will argue. In the training of teachers, we are trained to be empathic. What you don't know is that we are all counselors. Can you put yourselves into that mode so that you go the extra mile and help our children? During this period, at the beginning, take time also to interact with them so that the anxious ones can be brought down to the level. I'm going to plead with all parents and school heads, both principals and head teachers, and all the teachers, that unless a child has a pre-existing condition, unnecessary school visits by strangers should be voluntarily toned down for the time being. I am assured, and I've been assured, that all schools have been linked to health institutions. And this is important because in the event that you suspect that the child has fever. The fever may still be from malaria or any other condition. But the important thing is to be able to confirm that as quickly as possible. And if it is anything else, then the public health regulations require that we are informed as quickly as possible, and the government of the Republic of Kenya will do what it takes. Each school shall constitute a COVID-19 response committee and maintain strong networks within the nearest health facility. In simple terms, you have to get your own ways of procedure. For example, this huge school, the staff should sit down and identify which is the best way to react quickly if there is a situation that requires an attention. And our doors are open. Dr. Kipsang, our doors are open to them. Co-curricular activities and school assemblies, with all humility, should be restricted, taking into account social distancing protocols. Have I said that in simpler English, or you want it better? Avoid amassing all the children together for any purpose, unless it's a matter of life and death, for the time being. For example, if you want, if there are 10 teachers and a large school like this, you can have 10 different points to see the children. You don't have to bring them all together. But if you bring them all together, you know what may happen. But still, you are the head teacher, and you must run the place. I want to end, first of all, by re-emphasizing the government's resolve to ensure that as our children come back to school, they are kept in a safe environment. I would also want to urge the rumor mongers and people who just look at negatives and keep hammering them, that these are our children. They are not monkeys. And now that we have decided we are moving forward with them, ours should be to encourage them and not to discourage them. And I'm charging everybody, and I believe everybody is related to a child, that from now on, can we have positive thinking, and that if there's a problem, as you point out the problem, also help us to solve it. To our teachers, our gallant teachers, the success of the step that we have made, which is being assisted by other external publics like KCB, shall only succeed if we put everything in what we are going to do. Nobody shall be able to compensate you. We are going to expect that you go the extra mile. We are going to expect that you work overtime without pay. And that is what's going to happen to everybody for the time being. And you are not doing it for the government, you are doing it for our children. So I want to thank you most sincerely once again, Mr. Wegara, and also to hope that by the time the day is complete, maybe I may find 1 or 2 phone calls, and if you see me in your office, it doesn't matter. For us where we have reached now, even if you give us just 100,000 masks, we shall be grateful for them, because you can see that I can go and rest, because these guys are masked. The place is too small. The government policy was to ensure that everybody is at school. That policy has not changed, and is a very good policy indeed. And you are aware that the policy of His Excellency the President of 100% transition required that we go to the public and even get those girls who gave birth 3 years ago and take them to school, and that's what we did. For those children who may be pregnant, as we deal with the criminals, may I assure them that they have nothing to fear. They should come back to school. Teachers should be very, very empathic with them, giving them all the assistance. And when the time comes, they should be given the opportunity to go and give birth. And after winning, they shall come back and continue with learning. I want to leave it there. I will not take any questions. Perhaps just one thing about school fees. I have said that as we comply with the government requirements, for those few who still have to pay fees. Primary school is free, so there's nothing like fees. Day secondary schools are free. But for the boarding schools, where boarding charges are charged, may I once again plead with our principals and head teachers to ensure that no child is sent home on account of school fees, both in the private and the public sector. Because people think I keep talking about public. Even the private schools,